Hi there. If you're curious how people are using Claude Code for marketing, stick around because I'm going to show you how to make your own marketing operating system with an agent orchestrator that can help you get all of your work done and be cloned to help with clients or brands or whomever you're working with. I'm not going to cover setup or install. There's a lot of great resources out there for that already. And I'm going to be working in Visual Studio, which you can see, using a Claude Max plan, but this should work on the Pro plan as well. And I'm going to keep everything contained into one project folder. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new folder to work in. I'm going to click Open, and then I use a project folder on my Mac. I'm going to create a new folder and just call it Let's Build a Marketing Agent. The folder is blank. That's totally fine. Hit Open. And now our VS Code window or our project here is pointed to that folder. I'm going to close the right panel. So these buttons up here control which panels are visible in VS Code. If I click the right one, it collapses that right panel. Left similarly, and the one in the middle here is the terminal. On the right, we have settings, and with this button, you can customize your layout. I usually like to keep that right panel closed, the left panel open with a view of my files, and then Claude Code can live right here in the middle, which is the editor view, and we'll get rid of that welcome screen. And now we have a brand new, fresh instance of Claude Code. And I'm going to start with a simple prompt. I like to use my voice, and I recommend you do too, and don't overthink it too much. I would like to create a marketing operating system driven by Claude Code agents using one primary agent as an orchestrator and leveraging a team of agent specialists that can be operated directly through the Claude Code CLI. If we haven't met, my name's Adam. I run ViableEdge.com, where I work with solopreneurs, small businesses, and agencies on implementing customized marketing solutions that enable growth. You can learn more at ViableEdge.com. I've entered my prompt, but before I hit enter, I want to note that I've shifted Claude Code into plan mode. Claude Code has several different prompting modes, plan mode being one of them. The other modes are bypass permissions, ask before edits, and then there's edit automatically. The important thing to understand is these modes give Claude Code different levels of permission and autonomy when editing files. Plan mode prevents Claude Code from editing files. It's read-only, and plan mode is designed to create a plan before executing anything. What I love about plan mode is that it frequently turns into an interview style conversation where Claude Code will ask you a bunch of clarifying questions before it creates a plan. And this is part of the reason that starting with a simple high-level prompt can be totally fine. So let's hit enter and see what happens. Now you may have noticed that I specified using the Claude Code CLI. CLI is the command line interface version of Claude Code. It's the version that we're using now, and it's the same version that people open in a terminal. I'm using the official VS Code extension from Anthropic, which allows us to use this nice interface. If you need to find the extension, you can click on this icon up here to call up the extensions marketplace, search for Claude Code, and make sure you download and install the official Anthropic extension, and then you'll get this interface. Claude Code has created a list of to-dos to get us through this initial planning prompt. It's going to offer a visual companion. Yes, let's do it. So I have the Superpowers plugin installed, which I didn't realize when I first started filming, but it's really great, and I highly recommend that you check it out. It's free. It's available on the Anthropic plugin marketplace, and I'll show you how to install it. Type /plugins to manage your plugins. Whether you're in Terminal or the VS Code extension, you'll be able to do this. To install it, you're going to want to go to Marketplaces first and grab the GitHub link for the Anthropic Claude plugin marketplace. And I'll leave that in the description. All you need to do is copy that link and drop it into the field here and hit add, and that will add the marketplace. Once the marketplace is added, you'll see the plugins show up in the plugins menu, and you'll want to scroll down to Superpower and enable it. I have it twice for some reason, not really sure. And then once you have it installed, if you're in Terminal, you can type /reload plugins inside the VS Code extension, restart. All right, let's get back to it. Cool. So it's launching a visual companion and giving me the URL to open it. Let's check that out. All right, and let's get these side by side so we can see what's going on. And the first clarifying question is asking what is the primary goal of the marketing OS, and an operating system should do everything. So I'm going to select full stack marketing OS which includes these options above: content at scale, campaign orchestration, growth and demand gen pipeline. Who is the marketing OS being built for? Let's go for my own company. Tell me about your company. What are you marketing and what's the product or service? We are a B2B SaaS that sells marketing agents. Which marketing channels are most important? LinkedIn for sure, email, SEO, not quite paid yet, so I'm going to leave that blank. How do you envision interacting with the system day to day from the Claude Code CLI? We have high-level commands, structured workflows, hybrid, both high-level commands and structured workflows. The thing that I'm targeting here is orchestration. I want to use an orchestration model for an agent to delegate tasks and to route information to other sub-agents that can be invoked and operated autonomously. So I do want a hybrid of these, but I also want some level of autonomy. I'm going to choose other, and I'm going to specify that. I want the hybrid model that you're proposing, but I also want the option to have autonomous tasks. So if this gets too complicated, it might want to build a Python server to enable that, which I'm going to reject. So we'll see if we can do any autonomous tasks just within the boundaries of the CLI. What external tools and data sources should the agents be able to connect to? Yes, web and research, CRM, yes, analytics, and social/LinkedIn API. I know for a fact that LinkedIn API is really a bear to get up and running, so I'm going to leave that one blank for now. How should the agent outputs be handled? What is the approval model? Draft, everything I review, autonomous with exceptions, configurable per agent. All right, so I'm going to choose configurable per agent because one of the important things to understand when you're creating an agentic system with orchestration like this is governance. We want to make sure that not every agent has access to every tool, because that is a recipe for things going off the rails, right? We don't want our SEO agent being able to send emails to customers, for example. You don't want your research agent creating content. So there are governance criteria that we can set with tool permissions, using prompts and hooks. We have our first visual. Claude Code is proposing 3 different architecture approaches. And I just want to call out that this visual is actually powered by the Superpowers brainstorming skill. And here are the different architectural approaches. The flat agent pool. One orchestrator talks directly to specialists. The pros are it's simple to build, fast to get running. The cons are the orchestrator becomes a bottleneck, hard to continue multi-step campaigns, and no mid-tier for campaign state. Those cons, I think, are enough for me to move to the next recommendation: hierarchical system. The orchestrator handles strategy and cross-campaign priorities. A campaign manager sub-agent handles workflow within a campaign, and the specialists execute. I do like this model. The pros are a clean separation of strategy and execution. Campaign state lives in the manager, so that's critical. Scales to parallel campaigns, a natural place for approval gates, which is very useful. The cons are more complexity up front, and it requires careful instance design between tiers. I'm not really sure what that means. The final approach that is proposed is workflow pipelines, predefined workflow templates. Agents plug in as executors of each pipeline step. So the pros are highly predictable and repeatable, easy to audit what happened, and the cons are that they are rigid. If we have ad hoc requests, there would be no predefined pipeline or workflow to accommodate it. I like the workflow pipeline in some regard, and I like the hierarchical system in some regard. And I'm wondering if there is a hybrid between B and C that is workable. So I'm going to ask Claude Code. I kind of like B and C, and I'm wondering if there is a hybrid approach among those 2 architecture models. Great instinct. B and C is actually a natural fit. The hierarchy gives you an intelligence layer, and the workflow pipelines give the campaign manager a structured way to coordinate specialists. Let's sketch the hybrid. Cool, here it is. B plus C hybrid architecture. Hierarchical intelligence at the top, workflow pipelines at the execution layer. Click to approve or respond in terminal. Let's take a look. We got our orchestrator agent. It will be focused on strategy, prioritization, cross-campaign coordination, etc. The campaign manager, which will manage the pipelines. And then we have our specialists that will do the work. Cool. This allows us to have ad hoc campaigns, but also leverage defined workflows. So this is the direction that I think is best, and I'm going to click on this to approve it. All right, the next step is to review the design sections and get approval. Now that we've gone through the exploration, we've decided what our approach is going to be for architecture, we've answered some clarifying questions, Claude Code is now going to walk us through the different sections of the project before we move on to comprehensive plan. And this is also a feature of the Superpowers skill. Again, superpowers are not required, but they do help a lot. So let's start with section 1. 7 agents total. Review each one, their roles, and default approval mode. Cool. I'm okay with this. I actually did review this off camera a little bit, so I'm going to say approved. Moving on to section 2, workflow pipelines. All right, so here are our defined pipelines. And remember, this is part of the hybrid architecture. So these are the workflows that will already be predefined, and we'll be able to create more of these over time if we want. So the 5 that it's going to propose for launch are a launch campaign pipeline, weekly content development, an outbound email sequence, SEO sprint, and performance reporting. Looks great. Let's move on. Yes, let's move on. Moving on to the CLI interface. And this is an area I like to focus on because this is where the user is actually touching the system. And we want to make sure that it makes sense. And a lot of things in the CLI interface don't make sense to people who are not software engineers. So that's a consideration that I like to think about when developing marketing workflows. So let's take a look at what's being proposed. 3 interaction models or modes. Natural language, tell the orchestrator your goal. It figures out routing. Slash commands, direct precise commands for specific agents or pipelines. And scheduled tasks, cron-triggered pipelines that run automatically and surface drafts. Slash commands are just Claude Code custom commands, markdown files, nothing extra to install. So that's a great thing to understand, is that when we build slash commands, when we build agents and even skills, a lot of those capabilities are defined and stored in simple markdown files. If you're not familiar with Markdown, it's really just another flavor of a text file that is very compatible and friendly with AI, and they're very common when working with Claude Code. So you'll see them a lot. Cool. So I'm generally aligned with the interaction modes. One thing that I will add on to here is I like to enable guided experiences. I would like the orchestrator to provide guidance to the user, leveraging the Ask User Question tool, and to begin sessions with a concise menu of options that can kick off a structured interview style conversation to plan and execute marketing workflows. All right, let's see what happens. It's updated section 3 based on this ask. So here's what we're looking at now. Orchestrator-led UX. Starting a session presents an orchestrator menu with options. This is exactly what I was going for. So when a user begins a new session, they don't have to start from a free-form chat. Here's the interview flow, some examples of how a conversation will play out using the Ask User Question tool and presenting options versus asking for free-form responses. Moving on to section 4, the project structure and stack. So we talked about Markdown a little bit earlier. All of the information powering these agents are just going to be Markdown instruction files. So very lightweight, easy to manage, no code. Claude Code can invoke its own subagents and then assign those agents one of these roles autonomously. And that's how the orchestrator is going to delegate work. State management, meaning the condition of our campaigns at any given moment. So if we stop working mid-campaign, that campaign should remain in a specific state until the next time we come back, instead of having to start from scratch. And of course, scheduled tasks. There's no application code to maintain. This is the benefit of leveraging Claude Code for marketing. It's not an application. We're leveraging the power of orchestration. Finally, section 5, brand context and CLAUDE.md. That is your master project file that every session will read as it starts to understand the critical context of what this project is. So the section here is proposing project rules for Claude.md. You are the marketing OS for our company. Always read this file before producing any output, etc. And here's how the brand architecture will be set up: a company overview, ICP personas, brand voice and tone guides, messaging pillars, etc. And then on a first run, the orchestrator will guide the user through an onboarding flow to capture all of this information. Great. One thing it's calling out down here is a session.md file, which is a live session state. It's almost like a continuous handoff document between sessions. This all looks good. Approved. While this is thinking, I want to mention that I'm using Sonnet 4.6 in the medium effort mode, which is totally fine for this. You don't need to use Opus 4.6 in extended thinking and burn through your tokens. Sonnet is great at this. All right, this may take some time, so I will come back when we're ready for the next step. All right, so we have our plan. Marketing OS design spec. Context. The user runs a marketing for a B2B SaaS company and wants full stack marketing operating system operated entirely from the Claude Code CLI. If you don't specify the CLI, Claude Code is likely to build using the agent SDK, which is great. However, it is not easily operable with your Anthropic account. And it's great to learn inside the CLI anyway. Continuing down the plan, our B+C hybrid architecture. Here's our agent roster with descriptions and approval criteria. Here's our prompt structure, workflow pipelines, which I would review all of this if I weren't making a video. I highly recommend that you take the time to read through these plans. I am always finding things that I want to adjust or refine or I don't agree with. And they're really not that long. Anyway, I like it. I'm going to accept it. Now that the plan is accepted, we're moving from planning to implementation. Claude Code is asking for permission to read a file. This is normal. This is because we switched out of planning mode and now we're in edit mode. So I'm going to click 2 to allow for this session, meaning anytime Claude wants to update that particular file, doesn't need to ask permission again. And I'm also going to just shift into bypass permissions mode. And this basically tells Claude to just approve every decision. I don't recommend using this mode if you are new to Claude Code. There's some risk and it could go off the rails if you're not careful. I've heard horror stories. Don't be a horror story. Get comfortable with how permissions work before enabling bypass permissions. And the marketing operating system is built and committed. Here's what was created. 27 files, including 8 agents, 5 workflow pipelines, 8 / commands to run. To run this, we just have to work within the same directory in a new session. So it's saying that the onboarding interview will fire automatically when a new session is created. So let's try that. I'm guessing we'll have to make the first chat just to fire it up. Hello. So it's reading the session MD, which is the handoff file, which is currently blank. So I'm guessing that will signal that the onboarding workflow needs to happen. And here we are. So welcome to the Marketing OS. Since this is your first session, I need to set up your brand profile before we get started. Describe your company. What do you do? Who do you serve? And what is your market position? A B2B SaaS company. Describe your primary ICP, their title, their company size, top pain points, and the language they use. I'm going to type a custom one. Please describe your ICP in detail. My ICP is a solopreneur or individual agency owner or very small agency team with very few people, maybe only one person plus contractors. Top pain points are the amount of time to execute marketing, the cost of resources when it comes to developing creative assets or hiring agencies. The top pain points are software stack bloat, not knowing what tools to use, and being overwhelmed by all of the new AI options that are out there. And the language they typically use, I guess English? Is it asking about linguistic language? I'm going to go with English. Got it. Describe your brand voice. I kind of like the warm and approachable. Let's go with that one. And what are my messaging pillars? Question 4 of 7 messaging pillars. What are the 2 to 3 core message pillars? I actually have a lot of this work done, so I'm going to flip over to my command center style agent, which is built on Claude Code using a very similar orchestrator-led model that we just built. But this has a lot of other features, and you can learn about this at viableedge.com. I'm going to flip to my brand workspace. I'm going to come down here to my messaging framework, and let's check that out. I'm just going to copy the whole thing here since this work is done, and I'm going to give it right to the agent. It might be a little too much, but let's see what happens. This is a gold mine. A full StoryBrand script covers questions 1 through 5 completely. Cool. Any channel-specific guidelines? For now, we'll just use the default. That's totally fine. Anything that is strictly off limits in the content. No hype or false promises. Yeah, I can get behind that. No agency bashing. Tough line to cross, but I don't want to bash. No technical jargon. A little technical jargon is fine. So let's just say a little technical jargon to establish authority and credibility. Cool. And let's submit. And it's writing our brand profile. Cool. The marketing OS, the viable edge, no active campaigns, 0 pending reviews. What would we like to do? So now we have our marketing OS ready for action. Just like we had asked during the planning section, the orchestrator is presenting a menu of options for us to pick from. So let's plan a new campaign. Now we're working with it. We've built our marketing operating system. We have a team of agents and we're ready to go and we're doing marketing. What are we launching? A new product or feature? Cool. Give me a one-liner describing what you're launching, the Builder Edition. Okay, so it's actually pulling some information that came along when I pasted in my messaging framework. So the Builder Edition is actually what I do want to promote, but the price is different. If you're curious about the Builder Edition, it's a similar marketing operating system to what we just built, but with a team of 14 specialized agents, 3 orchestrators, a local knowledge base for intelligent context management, and over a year's worth of refinement and testing in real-world use cases. And that's available on the Viable Edge website. One-time purchase, keep forever, lifetime updates. And I'm about to release a new version. Who's the primary audience for this launch? I think multiple probably fits, and it's going to ask me for more context on that. Let's focus on solopreneurs and small agency owners, teams that are under 5. Awesome. And which channels for this launch? LinkedIn and email. I guess blog and SEO as well. All of the above. And when do you want to launch? Let's launch this week. Or actually, let's start ASAP. We'll start producing assets immediately. And here's the plan. The Campaign Builder Edition for $147. Product launch. Our audience is solopreneurs and small agency teams. And our channels are LinkedIn, email, and the blog. And we're launching as soon as possible. The campaign is now in process. And if we refer back to our architecture, it's working just as intended. The orchestrator agent worked with us directly to establish a campaign goal. And then it's handed that off to the campaign manager. If we follow the chat feed here, we can track those actions. Here's where the campaign is established and the orchestrator dispatched the campaign manager. The campaign manager is familiarizing with its own role, plus the workflow pipeline for launching a campaign. And now the agent is starting with this prompt. You are the campaign manager, execute the launch campaign pipeline. And if we click on this, we can expand it and actually get more detail on what is going to happen. It's going to call the research agent to do research. It's going to call the SEO agent to do some SEO work, etc. The first 2 pipeline steps are done. We have a research brief and an SEO brief, and we can look at these if we want. So let's call up the research brief and see what it found. This is what Markdown looks like. You can see there's some syntax like these hashtags and asterisks that make it a little bit difficult to read. But if you right click on the tab up here and click Open Preview, you can get a much more readable version of it. So here are the key findings from the research. Tool sprawl is the defining pain of 2026. Very important insight. Solopreneurs are paying for 5 to 10 AI subscriptions and getting inconsistent, disconnected output. That's a really powerful pain point that is right in our lane. The market gap is system thinking, not feature chasing. Every major AI marketing platform, Jasper, HubSpot, etc., targets either enterprise or technical teams. No credible, affordable system is designed specifically for the non-technical solopreneur who wants a coherent marketing engine. I question how accurate that is. And it's a great practice to read all of this with a grain of salt. AI is frequently incorrect, makes mistakes, doesn't always get the full picture. So always trust your gut, trust your instinct. AI is not perfect. It is frequently incorrect. AI agent adoption is accelerating among solopreneurs. 56% of entrepreneurs already use AI in workflows, saving an average of 6 hours a week. The appetite is proven. So product market fit is there, it sounds like. I'm curious where the stat comes from. I expect there to be citations at the bottom. Yes, there are. So if I want to dig into the source, it looks like it's captured all of those sources. What else we got? AI content saturation is a real anxiety. I get it. Solopreneurs are afraid of being buried in AI slop. This is both a fear and an opportunity. A system that produces on-brand, consistent brand voice content is perceived as the antidote. No more templates. And that's exactly what the Viable Edge system does. And $147 sits in a underserved pricing tier. Comparable platforms range from $39 a month to $800 a month. A one-time or a low price point system with 15 coordinated agents fills a genuine pricing vacuum. And again, That's available right now for purchase at viableedge.com. Check it out. Audience pain points, wearing too many hats. So we don't have to go through all of this, but this research is extremely robust. Already found some really interesting insights that I'm eager to research more. And let's take a look at the SEO brief. Right click, open preview. It's recommending several different target keywords, and it's labeling intent and volume. So really great research. And this is just done through the web. If you're using a dedicated SEO platform, you might get more data-backed and granular results for this. But typically the web research has been pretty good at getting a very solid start for SEO and AEO as well. It's even recommending content structure for SEO, competitor gap analysis, things people are asking. So really good stuff. All right. Let's approve. The actual work is starting to complete now. So the LinkedIn queue is ready, and we're still waiting on blog posts and email sequences. Let's check out the LinkedIn post and see what it came up with. Monday, anti-tool sprawl. You're probably paying for 5 or 6 marketing tools right now. Every one of them works great in isolation. Your email platform doesn't know what your SEO tool found. So I'm not going to read all of this. My first impression is that it's okay. To be quite honest, I'm spotting some AI-isms right away. 2 M-dashes, which are jumping right out to me. Maybe I'm oversensitive to M-dashes. In this sentence here, which has that beat rhythm, which is very AI-ish. To be fair, I didn't give it voice and tone guidelines. Let's take a look at another one. Agencies aren't bad. Let me be clear about that. There's a specific kind of an arrangement that's worth questioning. The one where you pay a monthly retainer, where the work gets done inside their tools. Tuesday is non-technical accessibility. I want to be upfront about something. I'm not a developer, never have been. Everything I know about marketing came from 20 years of running it at large companies. M-dash. So again, this is not bad. It's not like the ChatGPT slop, but to be quite honest, I would want to work on this a little bit more and refine my voice guidelines to regenerate this. But inside of one sitting of creating a marketing system and having content at the end of a single session, not a bad place to start. Let's take a look at the blog posts. The Marketing OS built for solopreneurs, 15 AI agents, 1 system. All right, cool. So I'm not going to read all of this. Upon initial glance, it looks like this is pretty decent. We have some good headers addressing direct pain points. We have decent structure. It's striking me as a really good starting point that with better contextual input can be great. And finally, the email sequence. Email 1, the Builder edition is live. Okay, right away, I'm seeing some issues. M-dashes showing up here. No agency, no retainer, no sprawl. That's that 3-beat sentence. That is very AI-ish. Same down here, 147 period, self-serve period. Built for founders who want their marketing. Very AI. So this needs a lot of voice and tone work, and that is not hard to build in, and that's where some refinement comes in. So what I would do from this point is grab a couple of examples of good emails and share those with the agent to refine the generation instructions. The campaign is created, and we can approve, we can request changes, or we can pause and save the state and come back later. If this weren't for a demo, I would go back and request changes and likely rewrite everything because I think it's still on the slop side. It's not really hitting my quality check. And the way that I like to measure quality is looking at a quality score. So all of the content that I generate, if I generate content, and I like to write a lot of my own content as well, is measured on readability, brand voice, and if applicable, SEO. And if these lines are not green, I will regenerate or I will manually refine until they are green. Because AI is not going to get your content right without a lot of training, refinement, and really good context management. So I'm going to approve this for now. We can pop open our file panel. We can look at our folder where those content assets are stored. And if I right click here and reveal in Finder, it's easy enough to access the folder where all of these files are stored and to bring them on to the next step. This is only the beginning. From here, you could build out integrations, more agents, better context management. Getting your own marketing agent up and going is a really solid initial step, and there's so much that you can do from here. I think that about wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed this video, I invite you to like and subscribe, and visit viableedge.com and sign up for the newsletter where I share more content like this every week. I work with individuals, teams, and businesses on Claude Code mentorship, implementation, and AI transformation. If you're interested, you can find out more at the website. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.